Hey guys, it's Daniel the Movie Buff here, and today I'm going to be doing another random movie talk thingy majig. And today I'm going to basically look at superhero movies. Superhero movies. I love them, but then I don't. There's some really bad ones out there, but there's also some really good superhero movies out there. And I'm going to talk about some of my favorites, some of my least favorites, and just some super movies in general. I have the Dark Knight and Batman Begins. Now, let me tell you something about that. These two movies. I love The Dark Knight. It's actually one of my favorite movies of all time. Batman Begins is okay. I don't like the style they tried to do the film in. I could care less about that. I just didn't enjoy it the way they do it. There's a missing, but I know where it is, but I'm not going to go and get it. I've also got Dark Knight Rises, but poor planning. I haven't got it at the moment. Actually, I have, but it's somewhere else that I'm not going to go and get it. But I love The Dark Knight. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Batman Begins, it's okay. I think it's a little bit boring. It's just not my favorite. I don't love it. Speaking of DC, I have Man of Steel. And I have a couple of movies from last year to talk about. Man of Steel was basically DC's attempt at the beginning of doing something that Marvel's been being very successful at, and that's building a cinematic universe. While I liked a lot of parts of Man of Steel, excuse me. There's a lot of flaws in it. So, I don't exactly love Man of Steel. It's got some great action, but the characters are mostly one-dimensional. Besides Superman and Todd, I really like the way they portrayed them. The Kryptonians, I think, were awesome. I think, contrary to popular belief, Michael Shannon did a really good job. That's a really good job. At least in my opinion. Can you see that? Yeah. And it's got a flippy thing, so I like Man of Steel. I think it's got a lot of flaws, but I still like the movie. Iron Man 3 is another movie, Steelbook, that I think gets a lot more hate than it actually deserves. It's really not that bad. I like the twist, actually. I just think that there's a point in this movie where it gets a little bit long, a little bit, drafted, and just the dialogue isn't so good. But, it's a great movie. I think the action's spectacular. And, I think it's actually a super movie. It's a superhero movie. It's actually, I haven't seen the other Iron Mans, but I want to, don't worry. I like this movie. It's a good movie. And don't hate on it just because they're trying to do something different. I don't like, they were trying to be different, and give them credit for that at least. Now, these two I think I'm going to talk about in pairs. Hulk is a horrible, horrible movie. But it actually is really bad. It's so boring, one of the most boring movies of all time. In my opinion, I didn't get into the character at all. The action's even boring, even more boring. That's possible. The Incredible Hulk I liked, actually. Is it a little bit long? And it's a little bit like the characters in these movies. They just can't seem to get Hulk right, no matter how many times they try. The Hulk in the Avengers was really good. He was probably the best part of the Avengers. But when you do a Hulk movie, a solo Hulk movie, then it just doesn't work. The characters are boring, the action's boring, but the Incredible Hulk is actually pretty fun, and the action is stepped up a notch. The Spider-Man trilogy, let's just forget about, Spider-Man 3, because it doesn't exist, in my opinion. It really doesn't. Spider-Man 3 is horrible. It's one of the worst movies ever made. Seriously. But Spider-Man 1 and 2 are actually really, really good. And I love those ones. I think they're really cool. And really original. Not original, but they really broke the ground for superhero movies. If you think about it, they changed superhero movies forever. And Spider-Man 2 is one of my favorite movies of all time. Spider-Man is a little bit dated. I actually watched it recently, and it's just a little bit dated now, a little bit cheesy, but I can forgive it because it's Spider-Man. And the only two Spider-Man movies that really exist, in my opinion, are Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. So now I want to talk about some of the worst superhero movies that we have on offer. I've actually mentioned a couple of them before. I think Hulk is really bad. The original 2003 Hulk starring Eric Banner. It's just not so boring. I understand what they're trying to do, but it just comes off as a boring attempt to give some psychological issues to Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, and it's no fun to watch at all. So I applaud him for effort, but it wasn't a good movie. Batman Begins isn't the worst movie I've ever seen. It's just an incredibly slow movie, and I don't like the style. In fact, Man of Steel tried to be Batman Begins, and maybe that's why I had a lot of issues with Man of Steel 2. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of The Incredibles. I like it, but I'm not the biggest fan. But the two absolute worst superhero movies I've seen, I actually haven't seen all of them. I haven't seen a whole lot of Marvel movies. They're just not my type of thing. But the absolute worst two superhero movies I can think of, Catwoman and Batman and Robin. I actually just saw Catwoman for the first time this week, and it is horrible. So horrible, guys. Do not watch it ever. If you have seen it, I feel sorry for you. What were they trying to do? And Batman and Robin is actually a really good comedy, but it's not supposed to be a comedy, so it's a superhero movie. So there are some really bad superhero movies, there are some really good ones. I talked a lot about the good ones, and I talked a little bit about the bad ones. But tell me, what's your favourite superhero movie down below? And, what's your least favourite superhero movie? Alright guys, this is Daniel the Movie Buff here, and I'll see you guys later.